Good afternoon, it's David Schlotthauer with a tropical update on very strong Typhoon Mawar for Tuesday evening, May 23rd. As always, my thoughts in this video are mine alone, and making decisions regarding Mawar, consult the Joint Typhoon Warning Center and your local officials for the best information for where you are. So this is a look at the very latest Hamari 9 Channel 3 visible satellite imagery near Guam for Tuesday afternoon, by the way. I know if you're east of the date line, it is currently Monday night, but this is such a big, serious situation that I have to give a detailed update on this. This is a very, very powerful typhoon with winds that are 130 miles an hour right now and pressures that are very low and rapidly falling because we have a clearing eye. So looking at the visible satellite imagery, we can clearly see that the eye here has cleared out pretty rapidly within the last few hours, with very strong spiral bands here orbiting around the main central dense overcast, which usually indicates to me that this is, number one, a very strong to potentially violent typhoon by all means, and secondly, it is very symmetrical, and very symmetrical typhoons like this are not able to weaken very easily. They're able to kind of fend off any shear or dry air that tries to get entrained into them. So therefore, this is looking like a very strong typhoon by all means from satellite, from Doppler radar. We'll pull that up here in just a second. But a wider perspective showing you the environment that super or very strong Typhoon Mawar is in right now. For reference, here is the Guam Islands, roughly about 145 degrees east. Here is Mawar, and yeah, look at that beast. That eye is extremely clear on the water vapor imagery. And the thing that I'm looking for here is there any shear? Are we seeing anything ahead of this that would prevent it from getting any stronger? Unfortunately, we do not see anything at all. The shear is going to be very light. The outflow pattern is going to be very symmetric. So we're going to see a strengthening typhoon for the next several days, perhaps getting quite dangerously close to the Philippines, the northern Philippine Islands, and possibly getting very close eventually to Taiwan. And that portion of the Pacific Ocean is notorious for violent typhoons, typically this time of the year, and this year is no exception. So there is dry air to the northwest of this, but with a central dense overcast, we're not really seeing any hints of any of that dry air entraining into the system anytime soon. Here's another look at this. This is basically a microwave pass showing you all the structure, the internal structure of super or very strong Typhoon Mawar. It will be a super typhoon at any time at this point. Very, very deep convection, heavy rainfall, squally-like winds. There is your eye, very well laid out here on the microwave pass. And the reason why I like looking at this is going to show us, is there any internal structure changes going to go on here? Are we going to see an eye wall replacement cycle? There is some outer banding features trying to develop around this, but they are not dominant enough to choke off the inner eye wall at this point. And as far as I can see right now, the inner eye wall is very strong, and it's more than likely going to intensify a little further before we start looking for any signs of eye wall replacement cycles, or ERC for short, which would likely lead to some weakening because the wind field, the subtropical force with these systems will likely disperse a lot of its energy outward. But once that, if we get that happening, the inner eye falls apart, then the outer eye chokes off the inner eye, and we can see a system really intensify very rapidly on the other side. Once that eye wall replacement cycle completes, we'll probably see a couple of them until it gets very close to the Philippines or Taiwan. But there's a lot of leg room for this system to really thrive in for further intensification. So here's a look at major, or however you want to put it, super, very strong Typhoon Mawar right now. Air pressure based on the ADT, Advanced Doverick Technique, is 937.8 millibars. Winds are about 129.6 knots, or roughly near 130 knots. So we are on the high-end Category 4 range as far as this typhoon goes. And A lot of you that live in the Philippines, Taiwan, that live on the Guam Islands, this would be a category 5 because their way of labeling things is slightly different than how the National Hurricane Center does it. I think it's like 150 miles an hour and greater for a category 5, I think that is. That would be super typhoon. We're at a very strong typhoon right now based on their data, but it's probably going to be upgraded to a violent typhoon very soon here. Center temp, 21 degrees Celsius, and the cloud region temp is pretty cool. So you can see here, if you're on portions of the Guam Islands, get ready. It is very bad. We have already had squally conditions. The eye is not far offshore. It is going to be moving in this general direction. It's kind of wobbling a little bit, but the general motion, I think, is headed in this general direction. And eventually the system will head more west towards the northern Philippines as it catches a hitchhike from a subtropical ridge to the north, eventually as that builds in. So that's a look at Mark Missenbaum with that typhoon. Man, that is very strong by all means. I've never seen anything this strong in quite some time. I can't remember when the last time we saw a typhoon this strong, but I can't remember them off the top of my head, but it wasn't too long ago, about a year, maybe a couple of years ago, we had a typhoon very strong like this, and this one is going to live up to its next number, I believe. So looking at the HWRF model, this is basically a hurricane weather research forecast model, and this is strictly to forecast typhoons, hurricanes, cyclones, however you want to name it. And in this case, we are looking at our typhoon here, Typhoon Mawar. We don't have the HMON. The HMON doesn't cover the Western Pacific, so we only are led to one model. So the forecast with this is, first of all, what is our steering pattern? That's the key metric here. Where is this headed? Why is it headed in the way it's going, right? Well, if we look at our 500 millibar chart here, we do have a mid-level ridge positioned to the east of Mawar right now. As you can see there, the wind barbs kind of in that general style. We have a little bit of a trough up to the north here. While that's not going to impact Mawar very much, okay? It's allowing it to move north, but the problem is this ridge here to the east is actually going to build a little bit northeast of Mawar, and that's going to allow the system to actually turn more westerly. And you'll see that here in the forecast guidance. See this ridge? This actually builds here, and what that's going to do is it's going to change the overall steering flow for this system. So instead of the system or the steering flow kind of out of the south, now we're going to get a steering flow more out of the southeasterly direction at 500 millibars. And then once again, this is going to head more towards the west-northwest because now we have another ridge that is trying to encroach over the northern Philippines as well as Taiwan, near the Japanese islands as well. And you got another ridge over here. So now this system is going to find itself in some weaker steering currents because of these two highs in place. But once this system gets underneath this other high, it's going to start accelerating a little bit, and it's going to kind of go off towards Taiwan eventually in that 5-day period. You can see that eventually by day 5 how this is going to impact. Sorry if I didn't cover the days. I got ahead of myself, but this is going to be Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, when it will impact Guam. And again, this is across the date line, so that would be Tuesday. Wait, no, so that would be, yeah, that would be Wednesday. No, wait, that would be Tuesday night because it would be Wednesday over there. See, my days are mixed up because I don't cover the Western Pacific very often. So bear with me, folks, on that because I don't do this very often. I don't go out of my way very much to cover the Western Pacific. I'm doing this because this is a pretty substantial typhoon by all means, and it is impacting a U.S. territorial island, which is Guam. So by day 5, we can see there is our ridge up here to the north like so, and that's going to allow again our typhoon to really kind of get in between here of the northern Philippine island as well as perhaps southernmost Taiwan. This would be a very bad situation. We would be talking a lot of flooding, very heavy rainfall, mudslides, debris flows, possibly storm surge flooding. be very bad. Northern Philippines, as matters of fact, they don't see this very often. It's really Taiwan that gets in on a lot of these landfalls that could be very catastrophic. And it's no stranger danger to Taiwan that Mawar could be closing in very close in the 5-day period. All right. So upper level wind pattern forecast. This is at 200 millibars. So again, here is our westerly wind here. So again, ridges are positioned slightly different. We don't see the 500 millibar ridge here because this is at 200 millibars, but you can see it's going to find itself in some weak steering currents. Not only that, there's not going to be a lot of shear to deal with because you got a high over here, you got a high over here, and this canceled out your westerly wind. You get easterlies here, so it's in this belt of very light, loose wind for very light shear, generally under 10 or 15 knots, and that's going to allow Mawar to really take an advantage of a lot of the moisture, very high upper ocean heat content, and very warm waters, and that's going to allow this system to really further intensify. Even so you get eyewall replacement cycles, I think this thing is going to hold on to its energy quite well up until it gets near the Philippine island here to the north and towards Taiwan eventually. But that's 5 or 6 plus days away, but very fantastic outflow here, which is quite concerning. One more layer I wanted to show you all really quickly is the 850 millibar wind plot here. Again, because you got to look at other steering features. So again, this is the 850 millibars. So the system is going north, then it's going to turn westerly because we got this ridge that's going to be in place right here, and that's going to direct our storm towards the northern Philippines. This is, by the way, on see, I get my days confused. This would be okay, so this would be Friday morning. So yeah, this would be Friday afternoon. Then by Saturday afternoon, and then by Sunday afternoon, I believe, that's when it would get kind of close to the Philippines and Taiwan, perhaps. But we'll worry about that when it gets to that point. We'll probably be doing a couple more videos on this, as this is an imminent threat, of course, to Guam, as well as to possibly more larger populations in, if you are in, say, Taiwan, if you're in the northern Philippines. I do have folks that I know from the Philippines personally that I've known in the past, and I just hope their families and stuff are safe over there, because this is no joke. This could be a very, very destructive, violent typhoon in the making here, as this kind of heads in that general direction. And again, that is a detailed update on very strong typhoon Mawar. I hope this video helped you out a lot. If it did, please consider subscribing, folks. This means a lot to me because, again, I am going out of my way. It's almost 11 o'clock here right now at night when I should be sleeping, but I felt like I had to put this video out for all of you that live on Guam, the Philippines, and Taiwan. Share this video with your family and friends on social media. We got to get this out to a lot of people because this is a very strong typhoon by all means, and I'll probably have more updates on this probably when I get home from school. That will be Tuesday afternoon. That would be Wednesday, early morning, late morning, however you want to put it, across the Western Pacific. Well, that is it for now. I am David Schlotthauer, and thanks for watching.